Hi guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel. I am finally done with Catching Fire by Susan Collins. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. First, let's just say I love the Hunger Games. I watched all the movies before I read the books. I think the first time I read the book was about a year, 2 years ago, and that was when I heard that she wrote the book, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So I had the original trilogy, but then I wanted that book, so then I got it. And then I can't remember when the movie came out, but I know it came out before or after I bought the book. And then I found out that she was writing Sunrise on the Reaping. And I really do love the Hunger Games. The Hunger Games, in my opinion, is one of my favorite fan base, or I should say, fandoms. I love Harry Potter, I love Twilight, and I love Hunger Games. I think those three are like the ones that really got me into the fandoms. Harry Potter especially, I've been obsessed with it since I was 6. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So if you haven't seen my first video on the Hunger Games, I suggest you watch that one and then watch this one, because this one is a lot. It is a lot. There's a lot that happens in the book that's not in the movie. And the one thing I do like about the book is that you get to see how Katniss goes back to her, or tries to go back to her original life in 12. And she lives in a place called Victor's Village, where she lives with Haymitch and Peeta. Obviously not in the same house, but they live in the same neighborhood. It's a guarded area. And then you get to see more of her with Gale. But with her and Gale, honestly, it just in the movie, since I watched the movies first before I read the book, in the movies I was rooting for her and Gale, because it was just more of like, yeah, she actually does love him. But after reading the book, I'm like, I'm gonna go with Peeta. I'm gonna go with Peeta, because she can do a lot worse. She could do a lot worse than Gale. So Peeta is amazing. I love him, especially in Catching Fire. He is just so sweet and so kind that he would basically put everything down for Katniss, and not in like a simp kind of way, but more of like as a gentleman. Because even though he knows that Katniss only fell in love with him during the games, like as an act, he's starting to realize too that maybe instead of pushing the issue to be an actual couple, let's try and aim for that. Let's be friends, you know? And that's something that I do love, because at first her and Peeta are just very like icy towards each other. They don't know where to go from there. And then when they come to take care of Haymitch, who's consistently drunk, that's when they start to like try and build up a friendship, to where they don't push, to where Peeta doesn't push anything and Katniss doesn't push anything. And then another thing I do like too is that when she's getting ready for her victory tour, she mentions that she talks to Cinna on the phone a lot, because I guess in the Hunger Games they need to like show more of their lives, because now that they're victors, they have to show more of like interests and hobbies, what they're into, what they're not into, any like, and in this case, like how is Katniss and Peeta's relationship doing, since they are star-crossed lovers. Now what's interesting about that whole dynamic is that even though Katniss and Peeta are star-crossed lovers, I would think that maybe they could have broken it off, but like that's what I was thinking. But then when Haymitch brought it up, because I guess I can't remember if she mentioned it in the book or not, and he basically tells her, no, like, you need to show some affection towards Peeta because everybody's watching. Everybody's going to want to know about your relationship. Everybody's going to want to know what's going on with the star-crossed lovers. It's mandatory at this point. So it makes sense why she couldn't, but she really wants to. And another thing I really do like is that you get to see more of, like, the peacekeepers in the book and how they interact with Katniss and how they feel about Katniss and Peeta being victors. And then you also get to hear Katniss tell stories about the girls who are used for prostitution to deal with the peacekeepers. And it's just really nice. One of my favorite parts in this book, it's in the movie, but I really do like it in the book, is when Katniss and Peeta are talking, and he basically says, "Let's start with something more basic. Isn't it strange that I know you risk your life to save mine, but I don't know what your favorite color is." Just the way he, like, says that, and also trying to get to a segue of getting to know her, it's just really funny to me because it's true, you know. He knows that she will basically give up his life for him, but he knows nothing about her, and he's still willing to not blindly, but, like, still have feelings for her and follow her to the end. And I just find that really pretty. Like, I just find that really sweet. And then, yeah, the more you read in the book, the more you get to know more about the life and then how they deal with the peacekeepers. And then when you come into the Court of Quell, everybody knows how that goes. The tributes from the previous winnings of the Hunger Games are thrown back in. Katniss and Peeta are trying to play off Haymitch. They're trying to tell him, like, you got to save Peeta, you got to save Katniss. And basically, they just have, like, this whole, like, dynamic between them, which I love, honestly. Haymitch is a really good mentor for Katniss and Peeta. And even then, like, another thing that I like about this, too, is that when they go on their victory tour, the first place they go to is District 11, where they get to pay tribute to Rue and Thresh. And you don't see this in the movie, well, I guess you do see this in the movie, but it's more of like a quick, it's like more of like a quick thing to start off, like, to get you more interested into the movie. But in the book, it starts off like you see in the movie, they come into District 11, there's no really reception to greet them or meet them. They're greeted by peacekeepers, and it throws Effie off because she's just like, what is this? And then when they go to the Justice Building to go stand in front of the whole District 11, they see Rue's family and Thresh family, and Peeta, who's amazing with words, he'll speak directly onto the card, but then very subtly toss it to the side and just say whatever he wants to say. And when you see the movie, you see Katniss isn't willing to talk because she doesn't want to, but she looks up and looks at the podium of Rue, and she basically says what she says about Rue and Thresh. But in the book, it's not the picture of Rue that gets her to talk. It's Rue's little sister, because she's the spitting image of Rue, and the first thing she says is that I can see in her eyes that she is angry and she is mad and she is resentful and unapproachable because I haven't said anything about her sister, who was my ally for a short amount of time. I haven't mentioned anything about Rue, so I would be angry too. I would be angry too if my sister was there and she was helping somebody and they didn't thank her. So she basically says what she says to Rue and her family, and she acknowledges Tresh's family, and she just basically says, I didn't know Tresh, he saved me, and then he was gone. I couldn't, I didn't know where to go from there. I just couldn't. And it was just really sweet. Now, the thing that got me in tears is the old man when he got shot, because that's what got me into more like, oh crap, they really are in grave danger. So there's that. Another thing that I like about this too is that when you go into part 2 where they're tributes again, um you get to see the Avox that Katniss met in the first book, but you also get to meet another Avox who was a peacekeeper turned into an Avox, and his name is Darius. Now with Darius, you see this in the movie, but you see the main part where Gale is tied up to a post, and then you just see him getting whipped. But with Darius in the book, he has a friendship with Katniss, not in like a buddy, but more of like, hey, I'm gonna make a couple of jokes, you're gonna laugh, and we're gonna have a good time, right? So that's what he does for Katniss. And when the hub was getting blown up, in the context clues that you can get from the book is that Darius didn't want to do it, and he tried to save as many people as he could, including Gale, where he tried to stop him from selling his illegal meats. And you see and you read about him getting knocked to the ground and laying unconscious, to where the main guy has other peacekeepers pick Darius up and take him away. And then you never hear or see from him again until you get to part 2, where Katniss and Peeta are walking into their room, and she sees Darius, who is now an Avox, and Darius recognizes her and she recognizes him, but he has to play it off like, I don't know you and you don't know me. But Katniss, you get to see her go from like, she's angry with herself because she not only endangered people that she loves, but also people that she knows. And then when you get to meet the other tributes, when she meets the tributes from District 11, she goes off to the female tribute and asks her about the family. She doesn't specify what family she's talking about. She's just asking about the family, and she says yes, they're fine. And then she gets that like, okay, Rue and Thresh are fine. We don't have to say it right here and now because there's cameras and microphones all around us. So that's cool. Another thing is too that I forgot to mention is that you get to meet people that are leaving from other districts to go and find District 13, because it gives Katniss that like question, like, okay, so District 13 is real, but not in the way that you think it. There's nothing there, but yet people are still willing to go there, and she doesn't understand why. And then yeah, it's just really interesting. Also, just a heads up, you also get to read a little bit of Haymitch's games in Catching Fire, but it's like, it's only as a recap. You don't get to see or hear what Haymitch actually went through, just more of like what the Capitol is allowing them to see. Another thing I like about this too is that when you get into the games, sorry, that's my bookmark. That's where I started reading and I never took it off. Another thing is too is like when you get into the games, you get to see more of like what happens in the other parts of the games. Like in the movie, we see the Jabberjays, we see the monkeys, we see the poisonous fog, we see them catching for fish, and we see the lightning strike, we see the clock spinning, we see the waves. But what we don't see are like the other stuff that happens around the clocks. Like, for example, we hear about the Rain of Blood. We hear about that one. But we don't really get to see what else happens. And in the book, it does lead to more questions of what actually happened in the other sectors, because we don't really get to know much about it. What I like about this too is that everybody in the games will drop subtle hints about what they're talking about, but Katniss and Peeta are looking at them like they're looking at their allies with raised eyebrows, but they're like, meh, it's not really our problem. Like, we're just gonna move on and move away from it. And then you also get to see the bread that Beatty gets as a parachute, and he gets 3 sets of parachutes with the same bread in it, but at 24. And when you get to the end of the book, Haymitch and Plutarch, they will tell you like, yeah, it was a pickup date for us to intervene into the games, pick up all the other tributes, take them out, and then we'll play it off like something happened, but that didn't go according to plan. And so they're left with Peeta. So yeah, they only saved Finnick, Katniss, and Beetee. They haven't saved Peeta or any of the other tributes. All the other tributes are still in the arena. And when Katniss hears that Peeta is still in the arena and he's not there, she basically loses her mind on Haymitch, but not in the way she did in the movie. More of like she scratched the crap out of Haymitch, then they're cussing at each other, and then she gets knocked out again. Finnick comes over, basically apologizes to her and says, hey, I wish I was dead and I wish they were dead because it would just be the easier scenario. And Katniss is even more angry about that. And then she thinks about it and is like, yeah, no, he's absolutely right. Like if I died and Peeta died and everybody died, then it would be fine, right? Everything's going to be fine. But there's no way the Capitol is going to allow that to happen. So with that being said, I love this book. I love this series. I am obsessed with the Hunger Games. This is my 3rd, 4th time reading the Hunger Games series. It's actually going to be my... this is actually going to be my 3rd or 4th time reading the Hunger Games series. So, with that being said, I'm going to give this book a 10 out of 10. I really, really do love this book. I love this series. I'm still going to give it a 10 out of 10. So, with that being said, if you guys haven't read the Hunger Games, or if you know somebody who's in or who has read The Maze Runner, definitely recommend them The Hunger Games because they will truly enjoy this better, especially to young, like, I'm not going to say young kids, but like kids in 6th grade, middle school. This is more of like their age group, and I feel like they would truly enjoy that more. And so yeah, I would definitely recommend The Hunger Games. It definitely kept me intrigued. I couldn't put the book down even after reading it for several times, but that's just me. I love reading. I love books. But with that being said, yeah, definitely get more kids to read Hunger Games. And may the odds be ever in your favor. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.